But first, the biggest story of the day.
Oklahoma executes its first inmate since 2015. John Grant was pronounced dead by lethal injection at 4:21. Our Carl Torp and Storm Jones are live from the site of the execution, the Oklahoma State Pen in McAllister. And Carl, we'll start with you because you spoke with someone who witnessed the execution.
Yeah, Kelly and Amanda, he describes John Grant as violently convulsing and vomiting profusely. This went on for some 15 minutes. So this was not a type of execution where someone appeared to be kind of going to sleep and then was pronounced dead minutes later. This was very different, according to Sean Murphy with the AP, who witnessed the execution. He's seen about a dozen of these. He says this one got started with John Grant saying, let's go, yelling that before the curtains were even drawn. And then Grant started with an expletive-laced tirade before his mic was cut off. John Grant did have witnesses on hand. We're told they were in tears. The procedure began today right around 4 o'clock, just after 4. And then shortly after that, the first drug was given, the midazolam, the sedative. Grant, that is when he started convulsing. That's the drug at the center of this legal challenge. Inmates call it cruel and unusual. They are now in a lengthy legal battle to get that drug removed from Oklahoma's lethal injection protocol. Murphy says he was also, again, convulsing his body at several moments. He said this was about 25 times where his body was coming out off of the gurney. And then, of course, the vomiting. When you're watching, are you thinking, okay, something's wrong here?
Well, just the vomiting was an unusual, something I hadn't seen before. And so, that seemed to be a problem. Especially because at that point he's still trying to breathe and his face is covered with vomit. It was, clearly a problem with him not being able to breathe.
And on 2 occasions, someone had to go there and clear and clean the vomit that was coming from Mr. Grant's mouth. He was then given the paralytic. He was ruled unconscious at 4:15. At 4:17, he was not breathing. He was given the sodium chloride, and at 4:21, John Marion Grant was pronounced dead. He is the 196th inmate to be executed by the state of Oklahoma. Reporting live in McAllister, I'm Carl Torp, Oklahoma's own News 9.
All right, good work down there, Carl. We turn now to Storm Jones outside Big Mac, where people opposed the execution.
And Storm, you're also hearing from the Attorney General here in Oklahoma and the family of the woman Grant killed.
That's right, Kelly and Amanda, here outside the penitentiary, a small group from the Catholic Church gathered to pray. They arrived here after the Supreme Court announced that this execution would move forward today. Most of them began leaving after Mr. Grant was pronounced dead. We're also getting reactions from across the state this evening. Attorney General John O'Connor has led this roller coaster legal battle over the past week, with today's execution on, off, and on again all over the course of 4 days. The AG releasing this statement today saying, quote, the family of Gay Carter has waited almost 23 years to see this sentence of death be carried out. The evidence in this case was overwhelming and justice has now been served. We're also getting reaction from the family of Gay Carter, the prison worker who was brutally murdered by John Grant in 1998. Gay's daughter Pam also worked in the prison kitchen and was there the day her mother was stabbed 16 times. She says today, quote, at least now we are starting to get justice for our loved ones. The death penalty is about protecting any potential future victims. Even after Grant was removed from society, he committed an act of violence that took an innocent life. I pray that peace prevails for other victims' loved ones. My heart and prayers go out to you all. Stay strong. And I just did talk with Grant's attorney, who says this is now a third botched execution. He's calling it a botched execution and calling for the state to halt any future death penalty cases until the protocol can be challenged in federal court early next year. Live in McAllister, Storm Jones, Oklahoma's own News 9.
Yep, supposed to go to court in February. The Archbishop of Oklahoma City also released a statement after today's execution, saying in part, quote, all human life is sacred. No matter how serious the crime committed, we do not forfeit the inherent dignity bestowed upon us by our Creator.
The Oklahoma Coalition to Abolish the Death Penalty held a silent vigil outside the governor's mansion. The governor's office has not released a statement about today's execution yet. coalition says the death penalty has no place in our society.